heard some. Oh wait, you guys might not.
Bass?
I need a glow stick.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Bring the
straight
bass back, dog.
Terry Crews vibe.
Yeah, let the bass play and let KD talk. That's all we need tonight. KD finna read the Song of Solomon.
Zero, you on fire tonight, yo.
Oh man, I'm in a good mood.
You got your Kevin
Where y'all from?
Hart guns out. Go, bro. What's good, Swiss? We ain't never had a chance to meet, man. God bless, bro. Pleasure to have you.
Man. Good to meet you. Good to meet you, man. I'm out in Dallas.
I am in Michigan.
It's cold.
It snowed today. Yeah.
We got some of the same. It's a little light, but it's nice and frosty outside.
Oh snap! The chat is lit already.
Yeah. What up?
I love it.
Hanging out, getting ready to just hang out.
Okay,
Yo,
is it the house?
Bars and beats. What's up, brother?
What
For the love, my guy Eric Trent hanging out with us.
What up?
He's out here too. He's out here too.
We got a full roll call.
I've been talking about down a little bit this week. He don't know that, but now he does, I guess.
I was
Good things though, right?
I was actually listening to his album on Tuesday.
Dope.
Man. Chat. We're trying some stuff out. It's the last year, probably. We said,
yeah, probably.
So, yeah, man, probably.
So I recently found out that
I don't know if you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I was just going to point out. I don't know if you see this or not, Zero, but look, I got this Christmas star hanging up here for you.
Oh, you got the Christmas decorations?
Harry, Sans, and Zach. Look at this.
Turn up.
That's what's up, man.
Wait.
Maybe for New Year's you can get some sparklers or something. Well, that seems like dangerous in the closet. But...
Oh. Eric's excited for the Waymaker. Well, talk about the temperature award.
Copies of true. That.
I apparently lost him. Bring this up. I'll bring it up on the screen. I'm trying to.
Eric said he's buying 100 copies.
There you go.
Hey, you press that in vinyl, Austin.
I'm buying 100 copies. Dude, I'm.
I had to put on a hat. I didn't like how that looked on camera.
Eric's getting shot.
Bro.
Yeah, he's got that Starlink. He's Starlink sometimes. We still love him though.
And do it.
Can hear you guys.
Well, we can't hear you, so we're just keeping going.
Yeah, we're just like. There's this show on Amazon Prime called Upload, where there's this chick got that suit that she could get inside, and then she have to stop to go to the bathroom, and her avatar be like,
froze. Yeah.
Think about that every time Eric frees up.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah,
you guys.
Sometimes. Yeah,
it legit looked like we all froze up for about 4 seconds. Either that or it was just me as I was making
you
that
guys
joke.
Are still like, I heard you the whole time.
12. No,
but hey,
9,
here we're getting
8.
What? You are off. All right. We're gonna check it out, man. We're gonna try it. Welcome to the 520 Collective live stream. Probably our last live stream of the year. We'll find out. We'll see.
Probably.
Yeah, man. The people already in here, man. Like Lost and Found. Is there actually hard copies of the album? That's my question for you, sir. Let's know. If there's hard copies, I want to get one for sure. But yeah, Eric Boston, 520 Collective, and we got the Wonder Team here, I guess, tonight. I don't know, dude. We're just hanging out. We don't have a specific topic. We're gonna see where the conversation goes, but why don't we start off by letting everybody introduce themselves? Zero, why don't you start, dude?
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here. I feel blessed. Sitting here streaming with my boys. I fell down the stairs today, but I didn't hurt myself too bad. And yeah, that's all I got.
What's good? I didn't fall down the stairs today, but there's ice where I live. So to have y'all hanging out with us tonight. What up? What up?
Yeah,
What's up,
man. We got a
everyone?
special guest in the house. Yeah, man. Go ahead. Roll with it.
Big Swiss here out in Dallas. Really excited to be here. Just chat about what's going on in CHH this week and the year.
Yo.
Yeah, man. So, dude, there's been some stuff happening. We don't have to, but let's talk about what's happening here. Well, Zero's covering up his mic. I don't know what he's doing.
I was messing with the lights, and then everything turned red. It's the old camera. That's the only way to fix it.
Yeah.
No, you good.
Okay. So let's start off this way. Let's start by saying that tonight's stream is being sponsored by our brand new 5 Collective newsletter, hosted by Substack. So check that out. If you're not already part of the newsletter, what you doing? Go get signed up for it. If you are part of the newsletter already, guess what? You're getting our posts in our newsletters from Substack. You should have gotten one last night, as a matter of fact. So to kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on. But yeah, man. So shout out to the newsletter. Shout out to everyone that signed up for that. And we're gonna get into why it is now being hosted on Substack for just a minute, man. Because we Christian culture, and sometimes stuff from the mainstream impacts Christian culture. We're gonna catch Big Swiss off guard here with this one.
Oh my god!
But so earlier this week, man, I woke up and there were stories about how Review, which is a newsletter platform owned by Twitter, which we just so happen to be using for our newsletter, was going to be shut down. Elon, man, he's making them moves, man. He's cleaning house and figuring out what's working, I guess, and what's not. But man, kind of a bummer when you set up your newsletter on a platform and they're like, nope, going away, man. Figure out what you're doing by mid-January, right? So yeah, after doing a little bit of looking and researching and reading and listening, we settled on Substack. And dude, I think it was actually a pretty good move for us, because we're going to be able to do some really cool stuff. If you go on there and subscribe to our Substack, like I said, we got the newest edition of the newsletter out. We also, I put out a poll, man, and asked, hey, who would want kind of a weekly rundown of new releases, both music submissions that's come into the platform, as well as maybe some of our people in the podcasting space, a rundown of what's come out this week. And I went ahead and tried that out and put out a list this morning, man. I didn't send it out to everyone's emails, but I just put it up on the Substack page. But if everyone likes it, man, I'm down to do that this week. So chat, like voice or not, the YouTube chat. Let us know, man. How would you guys want a list each week to your inbox, letting you know what's new music-wise at 520 and what's happening in the podcast world? Zero, Katie, what do you guys think about this? I mean, Swiss, I don't know if you're in the newsletter game at this point, but you can weigh in too, man. What are y'all's thoughts on Elon and Twitter shutting down Review and causing more work for us?
Go ahead, Zero. I'm gonna give you the floor.
That question was framed very fairly.
I can frame my questions however I want, sir.
I said, okay, when we talked about this earlier, what I said was, if it's not making money, you got to cut it. Twitter is not Google. Google is known for just keeping things around forever. I still have a Google Voice account. Google Voice does not make money, but Google has like endless bits of money to just throw at things. YouTube doesn't make money. You know, Twitter's not the same way. They're a company just like a lot of other companies, and they have to try to turn a profit if they're going to keep things going. And as we know, the way the year's been going, they had this huge overhaul. Somebody came in, looked into the books, and once the activist donations stop pouring into Twitter, they're not making money. So he's got to figure out how to do what's best for the company. So, I mean, it's unfortunate to see Review go, but from a business standpoint, I understand why it has to be that way.
Yeah, man. KD, you saw the stuff we put out last night and this morning. What are you thinking, man? Big props to Elon for forcing our hand here, or what?
Sometimes things work out, but it makes sense. And so a lot of times, some of our best pivots unfortunately hands. And so I like the Substack. I like the layout. I like the feel of it. I like the. If it wasn't, thanks to the house cleaning that's going on, then we probably would not have tried to use that platform. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a necessary evil, but I think it's probably like out for our good. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's a kind of.
Yeah, man, for sure. Swiss, what about you, man? Have you gotten into the newsletter game at all, or
I have not.
Your,
no. Yeah, it's not something I have done or even considered at this point since I've been Big Swiss. But as a fan, I'm definitely interested. There's a couple accounts on Twitter that will occasionally release everything that's released for the weekend, and that's been great for me to discover artists who I haven't actually heard of before, and then get on their Spotify and see fans also like this, and you just keep building your library. So I like that kind of stuff as a fan. So I think it's, if Substack allows you to do that better than what Twitter did before, then it's blessing in disguise.
Yeah, man. So as a fan, how do you feel about like, I don't know, I guess how interested are you in like the podcasts and stuff that's related to like the Christian hip hop world, man? Like, I think it's awesome, and I think we need to push it better just as like a community, because I think you and I, before we started streaming, we're talking about some of these complaints that we hear, whenever it comes to CHH. And I think one thing that we've heard a lot of is there's not enough media. There's not enough media. And it's like, no, there's more media than you realize, I think. And if we can start highlighting it, maybe we'll see that. So as a fan, dude, like, I don't know, is that something you're interested in doing? If we make that available on a weekly basis where you get some new releases, both music wise and podcasting?
Yeah, I'm totally into it. I mean, Ruslan's been holding it down for a long time, and especially with his like Bless God kind of side, couch podcast version.
Yeah,
it's been a really good thing to watch. I think they get in a little bit more topics that I'm interested in, but when they have like those insider, talk shop type things, I'm super glued to the screen. Or if it's something that's like I'm a big gamer. I used to work in the video game industry, and I like watching a podcast that's weekly that just covers all the news from the week. And so if I had something like that for Christian hip hop that gave me a lot of variety outside of Track Stars, which they're great, and Ruslan, which is more cultural, I like to talk about, hey, how did this producer do this? Like, interview people like that, get them on, talk through the process of creating an album. That's the kind of stuff that I want to watch, that I would be glued to my screen at 8 o'clock on a Saturday for.
Yeah, man. Lost and Found says, let's see what he said. The entire space has a need for more people to cover weekly releases. Yeah, man. And I don't know of anyone that's really covering the podcast releases. I mean, we're never gonna catch everybody.
That's not really something that we talk about. The podcast release. I like that's an interesting idea.
Agree.
But hey, when Lost and Found starts his podcast back up, we're gonna get him on that list as well, man. So here's the thing. I think part of the podcasting side is knowing kind of where everyone is and what everyone's release schedule kind of is like. I don't know for everybody, you know what I'm saying? Now, like, on this initial post that I put up, we got, That's Not Christian from this week. We got Not the Same Podcast. We got God Chasers on there. But several of them, most of those guys are, they release their stuff on Audio Mac, which everyone knows 520. We're big Audio Mac people here at the platform. So we follow that. They show up in our feed. So I'm just gonna throw it out there, man. If y'all are running a podcast that is related to Christian culture, it doesn't even necessarily have to be CHH, man. Like, hit us up, DM us, and let us know so that we can get you kind of on that radar, so we can be picking up your stuff and help and push it out on a weekly basis. My plan right now, I mean, we got a lot of stuff. We talked about some different services on the podcast that we're rolling out for the new year, and all of this stuff, man. Even with this, potential weekly newsletter that has these releases on there, it's all gonna come down to if people show interest in it and get behind it, right? So, I mean, I'm gonna put it out on Saturdays, is my plan. But as long as I see, some people are subscribing to it. And here's the nice thing about our Substack as well. Like, if you want to get just the weekly releases to your inbox, you can actually subscribe just to that. You don't have to get everything that we put out. You can get just the weekly releases. So let us know. But hey, artists as well, man. Make sure you're sending submissions to us so that we can get you on those weekly releases and get you up on the site and promote your stuff, man.
I want to pick a fight.
Comes out.
Hey, and shout out to Lost and Found, who actually did send Sister 2 early to a couple people to check it out. And, I loved that. It allowed me to like think about the album before it dropped. I ended up just starting, so I never did a video on it. So apologies, but it's stuff like that gets me super excited about growing the community more.
I want to pick a fight.
Yeah.
Ooh,
who are you picking?
Well, let me see if any of these punches.
Let Katie go first.
Real quick. So to the points, and then even what Swiss just said. Artists who think that way, like, hit up the media first and foremost. Like, it's important of your releases when and how you can. The other big, how many artists? So let's just say, for example, how many artists who get listed like Dad by Faith's rollout of releases? How many of those artists actually retweet? How many of the other media platforms retweet the stuff that they put out? How many other platform with a podcast and they tweet, "Hey, we just dropped this latest." Even if it's not your audience, and this is something that me and Eric, the way that the body works, the way that the kingdom is supposed to just driving people to us, because there's a number of different vehicles, different operations, different administrations. People have been called to different groups of people. But if you're still, lifting up the name of Jesus and pushing the gospel, why helping to support that? Why aren't we pushing that stuff out? Jesus said, listen, if over here, literally physically with us, they're still doing the same thing that we're doing there. We need to do more of that. We need to be better with that. Again, a retweet, as a share, as a comment, you know what I'm saying? And even if we continue to put out like a list of all of these podcasts, how many people are going to get behind it and continue to push of what it takes. If we supporting each other and complain about who's not supporting, but that's my soapbox, and
that's a better fight. Yeah. Okay. So the support thing where you're saying people tweet. I wonder if people don't retweet stuff because they don't want to seem thirsty or corny. Like, I send stuff out and then like y'all post it and I'm like, oh, 520 posted my thing. I'll check it out. Like, you trying to play it cool. Some people are like that. And then I think also there's an artist concern about polluting the water, and artists in the chat, if you do releases and stuff, let us know what you think on this one. Like, are you afraid that your retweeting is kind of polluting the water of what the media voice is going to be. Like, are people actually putting your stuff out there and retweeting it because they're excited, or are you just spamming everybody to the point that they're just like, all right, we know you got an album coming out? That's kind of where my first thought goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the thirsty category of like, how much do I spend on their retweeting people and talking about somebody, and like I'll make a cognizant note, like I've talked about this rapper 3 times in a row today. Like I'm probably looking like a stalker, and I don't want that. Like I'm just a fan, and things come to me in a stream of consciousness, and so I definitely see what you're saying, KD, in that there are artists that do definitely see their fans' tweets and retweet them, and our tweets and retweet them. And then there's some that I'm like, wow, these people don't really talk about it, or they're really talking about their own stuff, and it feels somewhat blocked off. And I don't know if that's just because people don't know people personally and they need to get that kind of personal connection with them to feel that way, or I don't know. Like for me, I haven't really been following Caleb Gordon, and I watch him on Ruslan the other day, and I'm like, oh man, I really like this guy, and now I'm like following him and listening to his stuff more. And it's just sometimes I need a personal connection. I need to see how this person acts outside of the music to make a I want to jump on that.
I agree. I think that because I know for myself personally, like I just can't retweet anything. That technically I'm in support of that, whatever that message is, whatever that state behind that, and I introduce that to whoever may be following me. And yeah, that does say that I'm trying to. Yep, absolutely, definitely.
So you feel like retweets are endorsement?
Yeah, absolutely, without question, without question. Because again, in favor of if it's not just this thing, you're in favor of that person. It's always going to be better. And I love what Swiss just brought up. Hey, so now here's the interworking of the relationship, right? Help each person by allowing individuals to engage and get to actually know this individual. Now I can go over here and I can retweet and I can share this stuff. Why? Because again, we've had the opportunity relationship, and I see who you are and what you stand for. I'm much more apt and push that versus I don't know you. So that part I do get. I don't see a lot of the artists who are listed on those lists actually like retweeting those.
Yeah. Man, we got a lot of comments come through.
Yeah. There's definitely stuff. Lost Fast said he does his best to retweet if someone posts about his music, and man, that's really all that media is looking for, man. If we're gonna cover you, man, at least share it, because here's the thing. Here's the dots that gotta get connected on this one, is that if we share your music, and you turn around and share that we've shared it, you may put people onto our platform that didn't know about us before, right?
Symbiotic.
And that's gonna help us grow, which makes sending your music to 520 more valuable, so that we can get it out there, right? And just make sure you send it, man. That's like what I'm preaching this year, man. Like if y'all notice, like all the nominees and stuff for the Wavemaker Awards, it was people that sent their music to us this year.
What is it? You make you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, because like I said, there's so much music that comes out, and it's hard to catch it all. It is hard to catch it all. So when you send it, it gets in front of us, man.
I'd say 90% of the new artists I discovered this year were because of you guys.
That's awesome.
Because of following 520.
Wow.
Like, who is this? Like half the guys you guys are putting up, I've never heard of. And I've been pretty consistent with CHH for 6 years now, 7 years.
There's also this there's also this element of like the platform is a flavor, it's not just ice cream. Like the platform is a particular flavor of ice cream. And so what track stars might like, Rapzilla fans might not like. What Rapzilla fans like, 520 Collective fans might not like. What Bars and Beats puts out, might be different. So it's like setting the tone and finding your tribe is a lot easier when you relate to the people of that particular outfit versus like spray and pray. Like, I'm not saying don't send it to everybody, but I am saying don't send it to everybody.
All right.
Yeah, man. And hey, shout out to
like
my
that.
guy Eternity. Shout out to Eternity in the chat, man. Swiss, I think he's responding to what you were saying earlier about tweeting, an artist multiple times a day. Just put a disclaimer out. Hey, this is my featured artist today, or this is who I'm jamming.
That's a good idea. It's a great idea.
That makes sense, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, man. So, anyway, all that to say, man, go and subscribe to our Substack. go do that for us, man, so we can send you stuff. Like,
Well, I want to go back to the podcast thing because I never got to pick that fight.
Hey,
so
and hey, before you do, let me make one quick announcement here. New 520 Collective podcast, season 4, episode 12 is out now. Check it out at 520collective.com. Anyway, take it away, Zero.
Okay, so I'm very interested. I know the world is changing. We hear I got a podcast. I have to wonder, is this a YouTube channel that I got to subscribe to and ring the bell and keep checking to make sure I'm getting notifications because that might be working? Or is it a literal podcast? Because a podcast has an RSS feed and I don't have to worry about that stuff. But a lot of people refuse to do audio, so they don't participate in podcasts. They have a show, but they call it a podcast. And that's a weird thing for me. I want to know where you guys what you feel. This is like a Windows versus Mac, Coke versus Pepsi sort of conversation.
I mean, it gets called the visual, a visual podcast, right? Or a video podcast.
It's a video. Yeah. I'm gonna take a hard stance, and that's not a podcast. That's a show.
Yeah, I work for the communications department at my church, and we're about to put out an equipping podcast that is a filmed podcast. But our strategy is to release the video, release it on audio only, release snippets on Instagram, release snippets on YouTube to like get people interested in learning more about their theology. But I definitely agree with what you're saying, Zero, on is this a podcast or because Dissect is a podcast. Serial is a podcast. There's no visual element. But I personally don't know anybody who's sitting on a podcast RSS feed outside of maybe 2 people that use Apple Podcasts. But I want the visual, and I'll even just play it and listen to it while I'm walking around the house.
I think it's the audience too, because there's a lot of guys I know that work in factories up here, and they don't get a signal, and they don't have unlimited data. They don't have access to the internet. And so they're saying, I'm downloading my favorite shows. Now, when you have the proper podcast setup, RSS feed, you wake up in the morning and go. It's already downloaded. You don't have to push any buttons, or you subscribed and you get what you paid. That the creator of the podcast, Adam Curry, set it up that way. And so a lot of the YouTube stuff, like you get commercials, it's constantly being interrupted and stuff. It's a completely different thing. It requires more engagement. Like the people I know that listen to podcasts, they're doing it while they're washing dishes, while they're at the factory, while they're driving, stuff like that.
Yep.
What are you doing? I see you.
We see you.
You can't think I'm not going to see you when you're dressed like a unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely I come home for lunch, listen to a podcast, and then I usually come home and make dinner. Well, I usually get home before my wife, and I'll listen to a podcast then while I'm cleaning and getting stuff ready. So, I live in Metroplex Dallas, where there's internet everywhere. So I'm not even thinking of the guy out in a factory, right? And so,
Boston Fawn is breaking my heart.
Nah, but he's telling the truth though. He's telling the truth.
Hey, but here's the interesting thing for what Lost and Found just said, though. And man, this is not a conversation I was expecting us to have. But here's the thing, though. Whenever you're watching like YouTube creators talk about their channel, or even podcasters that are doing a video podcast, so many of them, what do they tell you is the most important thing, though? They tell you the audio is more important than the video. They say your video can be a little janky as long as your audio sounds okay. So
yeah.
shows where it matters.
That's literally why I'm using the camcorder now, because I don't want to burn out the sensor in my camera.
I also wonder, do you think that when like we were on lockdowns and stuff and everyone was forced to be home, do you think that increased that interest in, or did that cause that shift from where podcasts were basically all audio to, okay, video starting to play a bigger role and taking over? Because we
100%.
could,
Yeah.
before you could probably listen to it at work, right? Like Zero saying, you work in a factory, you can have your earbuds in, you can listen to audio. But if we're all at home, not only can we hear it, we could have it playing on our TV while we're on our laptop working or whatever the case was.
Yeah. Well, what we're doing right now is pretty cool. Like with the windows moving in the comments, it's very interactive. But most videos are just talking heads, which is why it's like, dude, you're just a podcast. Just go the extra step and get an RSS feed. Versus there are people that put B-roll and effects, and they really do a good job. And I don't want to knock the video producers out there. That's what makes TikTok videos so interesting, is they do a lot of crazy visuals in their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and two, not only that, but I mean, all you need is your iPhone now with a cinematic view if you really want like a high pop, and you can record at 4K 60 frames a second and have a really high visual fidelity, and you don't even need a nice webcam or anything. You just need a pod and a microphone, and you're good to go.
Which, Swiss, your camera looks really good, by the way. What are you using for your camera?
I have a Razer 1080p 60 frames one. It's like $100 on Amazon.
I like that shallow depth of field. I don't know if that's an effect or how.
It's an effect on the filter for this. I just went into the options on this restream and just
I want to do that.
Background, blur background.
So yeah, Found says audio quality is really important. Yeah. But if there isn't a visual aspect, your average listener isn't interested. I know what he's saying, and I'll agree. But Lost and Found, I'm going to push back on this just a little bit. If you're a listener, you just listen to audio. Your visual doesn't matter. So let's say your average watcher.
Semantics.
Right?
Well, but you can understand.
If we're not here to argue the small things, then we're not in CHH, right? Let's go.
See, there has to be.
And then, hey, I'm just saying, some people might log in here and see me, so I don't know. They probably don't want to see that.
No, but you get person experience. So, you created a monster.
That's all I ever wanted.
Now I got to feel like now I kind of feel like I got to try this out too.
Yeah, but you got that great Deep Space 5 album art in the back. That album's classic.
Where did KD go?
My kids can't be identified.
Oh no! I'm still here, yo.
What?
I'm here.
What is?
Well, we're seeing like
that's now.
Is that a bathroom? No,
it wasn't supposed to do that. No, it's not a bathroom.
Hey, we're getting a home tour.
Wow, yo.
It's a nice TV in your
bathroom. Oh man! So, hey, has there been anything happen? I got one topic from this week that we could definitely talk about. I mean, we don't have to move away from this. I'm just want to make sure that we talk about things that y'all want to talk about. It's
move away.
Hangout.
Don't y'all speak a fight.
Move on.
Actually, let me ask Swiss, man. When you think back through 2022, what's one event that stands out to you? One thing that happened within CHH that you're like, oh, I'm not going to forget that.
I got to meet every single member of Indie Tribe this year at separate events. So I met Mowgli at Holy Smoke this year. My wife and I flew out to Atlanta for Holy Smoke, and that was such a high quality festival. It was indoors, air conditioned, free water, full day event. It was nuts. And then my church had John Keith and Mike LV out for a young adults conference. I got to pick them up from the airport, take them to lunch, bringing them in with our security guy. And so they were fun. And then I got to interview No Big Deal with DJ B Plus, who's here in Dallas too, when he did a pop-up before the Glory Nights tour. So I'd say those are I got to meet Trip Lee this year too. I actually did kind of like have like one of those like stardom, like fan moments of like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting a legend right now, which I've never had happen to me before. So yeah, it's just I met a lot of artists this year that I, didn't think I would get to opportunity to hang out with. So
That's awesome. Triple E, yeah, like don't feel bad about that. Having a fanboy moment. I did the exact same thing. There's only like maybe 2 people I've ever done that to, and Trip is one of them.
yeah, I mean, I like froze a little bit, and the pastor who's friends with him, I was like, bro, that's Triple E. He's like, oh, do you like Triple E? And I was like, I literally have The End in my CD player in my car right now. And he's like, he's go, first, you have a CD player in your car? And I'm like,
Hey,
yeah, physical over digital all day.
big props to you for that, man. That's why I listen. That's what I'm saying. If Lost and Found gets those hard copies pressed up, he needs to let me know, and I'll be sliding that address to him. So
I will always buy a physical if you offer it, just to support. And 2, it just sounds better.
The experience, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, I've never listened to his music, and I've been friends with him for years. I'm like, what? And he's like, come here, I'll introduce you. And like,
I don't even know if you can say you like Christian rap if you've never listened to Triple E.
Yeah, well, this guy would not say that he was a Christian rap fan. I don't think, at least I don't think so.
That's like required listening, at least.
Yeah, my church
I don't
is
listen to a lot of the OGs, but Trip, man, I'm not even gonna do it. I'm gonna gush. Let me stop. That's my guy, man.
Yeah, he's great. What about y'all? What were your guys' favorite parts of the year?
KD, what you got?
Oh, I think some of the things as a platform, some of the conversations that we've been able to have throughout this year that I think were really beneficial to the space. The whole quote unquote queer Christianity thing a couple of weeks ago, where like we've had the opportunity to kind of dig in and kind of be molded and shaped it, and for me, though, able to see that growth from start to finish, and kind of some things that happen behind the scenes, the relationship building, all of that type of stuff. So for me, part of the year for me.
Zero, what you got?
Katie stole my answer. This year kind of sucked. I'm sorry. I was not as bad as 2020, but I got.
Come on, man. It had to be something. I mean, hey, you made it a full year.
Okay. You're gonna force my hand. The Twitter thing is a big deal for me.
What you mean?
I don't want to rant too much, so feel free to play me off the stage when it gets there. But as an artist, I noticed all of the weird algorithmic things in the beginning, and as like it's been years and years and years, I've been watching these things unfold. I think at the beginning of this year, I started finding out about the dead internet theory and content drift and some of those things that we did podcasts about way earlier in the year. And it helped make sense of what I was experiencing and what I was noticing with big tech and the censorship and things that I could not put my finger on. And then to see at the end of this year when Elon took over Twitter and the algorithm changed and they lifted whatever it was that they were doing, there was at least one outlet where I wasn't seeing that happen. Because it's very frustrating when, like, I'm not a guy that gets thousands of views on anything, but if I put out a video and it gets 2,000-3,000 views, I'm just like, oh my goodness, something happened. And then, hundreds of views, and then it just like a hard stop. Now it's like back to 7 to 9 views per video. It makes you just not want to do it anymore. Then comes Twitter, and now all of a sudden I'm having conversations with people again. I'm getting messages from old friends that were like, when'd you get back on? And I'm like, I've always been here. What are you talking about? So there's that reconnection. And it wasn't so much of like freedom of speech, because I know that's a totally different conversation, but it's just having a voice and being allowed to be a part of the conversation. Like that's the biggest thing that happened this year for me. I know a lot of people have their opinions about what Elon Musk is doing, and I honestly don't understand why, because like a nobody from the Midwest middle class like me can actually be a part of the conversation now, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember very clearly when my feed changed. I remember the moment I was like, oh wait, who are all these Christian, hip hop contributors? I've never seen that. Like you, like I found you like that day. I was like, oh, who's Zero? Like who are these guys? Oh wait, they're following these guys and they're talking about the same things I'm talking about, and started following you guys. And so I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah, man. So for me, I think the big thing for this year has been just some of the relationships, man. Getting connected with like Marcus Hall from the Kingdom Choice Awards. Dude, seeing the Kingdom Choice Awards go to Broadway, that is huge for Christian hip hop. I know we talked about that with Brinson not too long ago, right? About how big that really was. And it's the truth, man. And then, shout out to them as well. Being able to be nominated for a Kingdom Choice Award was not something I expected going into this year. So that was really awesome. And then, but we also got to talk about the return of the legends a little bit as a big thing for Christian hip hop this year. Right? Like you had Ambassador drop a new album. You had Corey Ridden Precise drop a new project. We got OGs that really kind of got this thing off the ground. Yeah,
I didn't listen to that one yet.
So that's big, man. I think it's cool seeing, some of the founding fathers, if you will, kind of get back into the space and start incorporating and interacting with the current generation of artists. I think that has the potential. Now we got to see it play out, of course, but it's got the potential to start turning those wheels of change a little bit of where we're at. Some of the complaints that we do here, we talk about how the more veteran artists, a lot of people say we need to see them, discipling and leading the way and showing the younger artists how this thing should run. And, maybe this is the first step in that.
Yeah, and we're really the first generation. I'm about to be 39 in 2 weeks. We're really that first group of guys that are coming up through hip hop and seeing like another generation flip right now, right? And so for us to see someone like KJ52 be 45 and still dropping amazing albums, and Ambassador doing the same, and these guys who are our age doing it, I'm just like, oh, these guys, you can get into that 21 Savage Nas conversation of relevancy and just how interesting that we're in that like cusp right now. We're at that transition period, and it's whether we want to keep supporting that or just pour everything into like, the next big thing.
Shout out to the bookkeeper 247, Daryl. All is well, man. Hope all is well for you and your fam. So, yeah, man. No, I'm with you guys. So, an interesting conversation from this week that I wanted to share with you guys. You can just get your thoughts on real quick. Let me pull it up on the screen so we can take a look. But we had this tweet from our guy Scribe.
Oh, here we go.
And now, exactly, man. Exactly. So, Rapzilla kind of shared this, and the crew did a video, but man, Scribe caused a stir this week when he said everybody in CHH want to be about that rap life until the conversation of who better than who. And I mean, we could scroll through this a little bit. I mean, and just see. We got Portia Love, we got Mitch Durrell in the
don't scroll because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm coming after them when I respond. I got some things to say about that one.
I Lost and Found is in there. Let's look at Lost and Found.
People aren't mature enough for the conversation. Yes,
man. Listen.
Yes, no lies detected.
I mean, I'm just scrolling just so y'all see, and even with the retweet, this is in the quote tweets.
Seth is probably winning hard too.
That was actually kind of calm in this, man.
He was pretty tame for this.
Okay, good for him. I'll be praying for him.
Joe Hinkle says, I really want to start beef. And he ain't even a rapper, dude.
He's not even a rapper, yeah.
Love Joe.
Oh, man. So,
you know what? But Lost and Found is right, though. I mean, I
think will catch up with.
I got some feedback.
Go ahead.
I was going to say he's right. There are a lot of people that don't want the conversation. There are a lot of artists. You know, I work in a communications department. I've worked in animation studios. I've worked in video game studios. Artists are emotional beings. They are a highly left brain person. Some people cannot take objective feedback without having the subjective part attached to it, especially in hip hop where, you know, there is an ego attached to the culture. And so when you give someone direct feedback, it's some people can take it and some people can't. Like if you were to tell me, hey, if any of you said, hey, I've been watching your shows, I hate your video game background, get rid of that. I'd be like, hey, okay, that's good feedback, thank you, I'm planning on it. Or, you know, like I just don't get my feelings hurt because I'm just a highly objective person when it comes to art, in how I'm viewing it. Like it's not a personal attack to the artist, it's how the art affects me. And so when you talk about the competition, some people get too offended by the number. It's like, hey, if you told me I was dead last, I'd be like, okay, cool. Like that's not why I'm here. I'm here for advancing the kingdom.
I can speak on this because as the world's second, or the second okayest rapper, I could say. I'm sorry, I had to let that marinate for a minute. It's the sign of an artist who is not used to working with or for others. You know, getting your feelings hurt because somebody said that somebody else's music is better than yours.
Yeah.
As an artist, as a working artist, you have to understand criticism comes with a lot of things, especially if the people that are paying you are bringing that criticism, or the people who are affecting your income are bringing that criticism. Like you gotta take that into consideration. And there was a wonderful article written by AKA Fisher called "The Joy of Criticism," and I've been meaning to share that with you guys. I'll share it with you, Eric, after this, so you can decide if you want to share that with the rest of our audience. And it's like, if the guy who's listening likes Drake and your song's not a Drake song, then maybe just don't, you know, if he's criticizing because you don't sound like Drake, don't take it too seriously. I mean, that's one small slice of the conversation, but the other one is like, people are going to be objectively, like, everybody can't be Goku, you know, and even Goku had to work and lose and like sacrifice and lose something to get to where Goku is. It's not like Superman who's just born that way. Like you got to fight, you got to lose something, you got to sacrifice. And if you can't objectively say that you're Wolverine and you've just lost a ton of loved ones and been through pain and hurt, then you can't be mad when somebody say that you're not the best. And it's just the way it is. Like everybody ain't gonna like you. You're not everybody's favorite cup of meat.
Yep.
So
I think that's just half of the conversation, but that's enough for me to put out right now.
There's a lot of parts to this. I mean, if we're being honest, because I mean, here's the thing: we will sit here and talk about who's the best in the mainstream all day long on Twitter, right? And ain't no one's feelings, you know, no one's worrying about people's feelings at that point, right? We will debate it. We'll say who's the best. But then we bring it over to the CHH side, like what Scribe is saying, and it flips, right? Oh no, we can't have competition. But you know what? There's different kinds of competitions, right? And there's competition to push each other and be better. You know, hey, agree with Lost and Found here. You know, simple fact is, others will undoubtedly be better than you. And at the end of the day, there are, even as unbiased as you try to be, we know that there are some that are just technically more skilled at rapping than others, and that's okay, right?
And I don't get this whole like unbiased thing that people keep trying to bring to the conversation. Like everybody's equal in the eyes of God, and no one is better than it. Like, why are you trying to make this into a humble like that's competition in itself with this false humility that people brought to the conversation? And you read the thread for yourself. You'll see what I'm talking about, because it was all over Twitter all week long. It's like no man is ever better, and it's like it's a sport basically. Like we're competing. Just accept it.
Yeah, man. So,
here we go.
So, hey, before Katie goes, I'm gonna just point this out, because I mean, we look at just the very first response here, you know, from Portia Love, and this is no no shade at Portia, but
Can't read it.
she thinks that's when the C and CHH comes in. People want to know who can rap about Jesus the best. It's not about that. It's not about who can rap about Jesus better. It's looking at it and saying, hey, objectively, when it comes to the art and the skill, the fact of the matter is some people are just better at it than others. Now, the bias part does come in a little bit, right? Where if I like
We're
boom
biased
bap,
creatures.
well, because if I like boom bap and I don't like trap, then if I hear a trap rapper, I'm probably not going to be too highly favorable of them, right? However, even if my bias comes into play and I would prefer a boom bap, if it's a trash artist doing boom bap, I'm not going to sit there and say that they're better than a skilled trap rapper just based solely on the fact that this one over here is doing boom bap, right? If I am, like, don't even listen to me. We can have those because we literally have it all the time. Who's better? Kendrick or J. Cole? Who's better, Pac or Biggie? Right? And we don't think twice about it in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, there's some guys that are better. So, Swiss, and then
I want to hear what KD got to say.
Yeah,
KD
looked like he was going to go. Go, KD.
Let's Swiss say what he was going to say, because I know KD's about to bring the word to this thing. So.
I was just going to say, everyone has different things that they like. I don't like, for example, Jude Barkley. Like, that's just not my favorite style. But I do know
Swiss
people
is saying names. Swiss is saying names out here,
It's a preference. Like, it's I don't think he's a bad artist. It's just not the sound I like. But I know people that like that sound, and so I share his music regardless with people at work who I'm like, hey, you may not like Indie Tribe, but I think you'd like this. And then they're like, oh, wait, is there more of that? I'm like, yeah, you should check out Mowgli the Iceberg. Check out this out, and it's like, oh, what? And so it's like the sphere is so big that there's all these different avenues now. It's almost like we have subgenres within our subgenre that we can still pull people in and hear a good message, whether it's my preference or not.
Fact.
And I still feel like people are making this a contest of who's a better Christian or who loves God more or something.
Right.
And it's not that. That's not what we're talking about. Like, who's the better man? Like, we're not doing that. We're all trash. Like, if you want to talk about it from a theological perspective, we're not doing that. We're talking about the fun art side. Like, whose snare is better? Whose mic is Eric's mic is better than mine. Okay, that whatever. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
I spoke over.
Let's break some bread.
Hey. So I think too, and it would have been dope to have on here to provide any potential context too, because I think there's a couple of different ways that you can look at it. But again, ultimately, we're not competing against each other. You're very dope at what you do, and I'm supposed to acknowledge that, and I'm not competing against it. Even what the scripture says, we're not supposed to compare. It's not wisdom to do that, right? And so when we look at it about the rap life, et cetera, we're supposed to be very hip hop statement. This is a very culture statement. This is a very secular conversations. And we ask artists, yo, who's in your top 5? Who's in your top? We have no problem with them listening at. But for us, the goals and the motive is be different. And we're supposed to view things like this differently. So now I'm not trying to be about that rap life, even though I may be an artist. I think, I am an artist, but I also like listening to these other artists do what they do. This person is very dope at what they do, but I'm not comparing them to then whoever. It's about doing what you've been called to do. Who's that when we kind of get sucked into these types of distractions, right? And you could tell that by the feedback that you get in a response. But again, I think it's probably unnecessary at that point. It's like, okay, well, what's the basis for better? Because like you, who does boom bap, when I got somebody who's dirty, somebody who just drill music from the Midwest, and this person, even though we may be doing the same thing, this person does it different. I can't the vehicle. I can't compare how they administer what it is that they do. That's not realistic. If you got a list, you have a list. But for us as the body, who's better at doing that? So to that point, I kind of somewhat understand some of Portia's response to a question like that, because it's like, okay, well, exactly. Because at the end of the day, everybody's mission is supposed. So what would we compare when we talk about actually being better? Got like a mute point.
I think the thing that we compare is skill mostly. And I think that I would assume that's what Scribe is talking about. And if I had to make it a theological thing, I would categorize that under the iron sharpening iron situation. I like confrontation. I like competition. And that doesn't make it right. But like if I meet another person who's really into politics, like let me make it political for a minute.
It also doesn't make it wrong though.
Yeah,
may not
yeah.
make it
Like I
right,
don't
but it
see
doesn't
it
make
as a
it wrong.
moral thing at all. But let me put it in the frame of politics right now. We're about to have a RNC lineup, and a lot of people like Trump, a lot of people like DeSantis. We need them to go as hard against each other as possible. I mean, full on fist fight, knockdown, drag out brawl, because it's going to make both of those candidates better. If DeSantis can't stand up to Trump's worst attacks, he does not deserve to be the candidate. And vice versa. Now, the overall goal is that we want them to be, the best candidate for the competition when it comes time for voting. And that's how you get the best result for a leader or a person that's supposed to be the forefront of a movement or whatever. Like when I listen to these like ciphers, or when I listen to these big events that like magazines and websites and stuff put out, and they're like, here you go. And it's not like, it feels like it's not field tested. It's embarrassing for the faith, really. Like I'm a factory. I've got a factory background. You're in the factory. You got a bunch of guys around, and they're, oh, this is my rap. Oh, this is my rap. This is the worst, whatever. And I'm like, hey, you guys ever heard of this guy? And I want to put in the Christian rapper. I want to put in the guy that I'm confident has the most skill, that they're not going to have any reason to reject the rapper for the rapper. If they're rejecting it, they're rejecting the message of Christ. But it's like the beats is tight, the recording is tight, the lyrics are good, them drums is smacking. Like I want everything to be top-notch quality. I don't even play my own music for these people because I want it to be better than me. And I think we only get there through competition.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think too, the regional aspect plays into that big time. So I'm originally from Oakland area, Bay Area, West Coast. And so like I grew up on, Blackalicious. They were really big in that area. The hyphy movement was really big, even though I didn't really like it. Murs, Living Legends, those kind of guys are what was popular. I was a kid. And then, when the Christian space started hitting that early 2000s, you had Tunnel Rats, those guys, LA Symphony. And so it was a very like West Coast sound that like when I first started to listen to Southern rap, I hated it. Like I was like, what is this? It took years for me to get used to it. It took years for me to get used to that Midwest rhyme sayers, Anticon kind of, sound. But everyone has always loved the East Coast sound because that's the origin. And so now you have all these different dialects. Even Florida is starting to sound different than Atlanta. You know what I mean? So, and they're not that far. And so I think a lot of that plays into that, where my friends might say, oh man, I love DJ Screwed stuff. I hate it. But when the No Big Deal drops and Screwed album, I'm like, hey, check this out, bro. Like, so.
Yeah, I think it's different though in artists that makes you want to get better versus things like, man, I really appreciate how this person, delivered Andre here. It's different than saying necessarily who's. I definitely get, hey, let's put our best foot forward. Let's introduce an individual that if you want to talk about something, you can't talk about the beach. You can't talk about the rap at all. You know what I mean? They can twist, they can slow it down, they can whatever. Yeah, but by the same token, again, at the end of the day, internally for us and whoever? Can we actually sharpen each other? Can we help each other improve? Ultimately, each other as being better than one another. There's things that you do that I'm impressed by. I would love to, but I appreciate the fact that that's what you bring to the table. I'm not competing with you. And you make me want to get better. Like, though, that's perspective should be filtered through that versus saying, well, man, let's fight and make the best man win. How are we better? How are we better?
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to with the Christian part of it, right? Is like you're saying, we need to see our artists using that competition to get better because they know if I push you and you push me, we're going to do more for the space, right? We're going to do more for the genre. Whereas in the mainstream, it's definitely more feeding into that ego side of stuff where it's not a competition about, okay, let's come together and let's grow off of this. It's no, I want to be known as the best one. And
I think it's
the
the
rest
fear
of y'all
and pride
suck, you
that
know?
a lot of people don't want to approach that conversation about
Excuse
competition.
me.
Because there are a lot of prideful people that they just want to be like, I'm the best, and like that's
Which
not
that's
Christian.
in the DNA of hip hop.
Yeah.
And the struggle is synthesizing these two things. We're trying to synthesize hip hop and Christianity and their
I don't know if you
philosophies.
can be
Hip hop
honest.
is a philosophy
And
in
that's
itself. But we keep trying to do that.
and with they
Preach.
structure and with a worship that has another, there's a whole nother conversation that other people really try to stay again when we talk about. So we complain about things that go on in the space, right? But how Christ is missing from the music. Well, I wonder why. It's because when we minor on the Christianity, so now it just basically becomes clean music, right? There is no revelation. There's no ministry. There's no serving the listener what I want to give you, and you're going to take it, and this is what we're going to do. So that part of it to want to have, regardless of how much we don't want to have it, because when we listen and we look at the ego and we look at the pride, those are all derivatives of the hip hop. It is a culture, a belief system. It is a structure in and of itself. With Christianity, who has a God already? Hip hop tells you to worship God. Those things, they are not compatible.
Preach.
And that's basically where things seem to be misplaced in the competition conversation is who are you competing against? Because I'm not against friendly competition. I invite friendly competition. But that's a personal choice. I don't think I have any like scriptural reference for that or whatever. But I'm competing against the world for souls for the sake of Christ. And so it's who am I competing against and why am I competing? And those have to be forefront in your mind. I get offended for the church. I get offended for Christ when somebody comes and, you know, when Jay-Z puts out a church in the wild or something, I get fired up about stuff like that. And I'm not nice about it. I don't have like no chill about stuff like that. And I don't see anything wrong with the Christian being zealous for the church or for Christ in that way competitively. But I do understand what you're saying. And I think I'd have to agree now. You might have changed my mind.
And I appreciate what you're saying because now when we talk about competition, when we talk earnestly contending for the faith, like we're supposed to respond to things like that in the warfare that we're engaged in. If we do, though, then that means I ain't got time to be worried at me. If they are, and they very well may be, because again, I love to do that. I'm not
So
at
this is
that
ultimately
place. I'm not at that
theological.
level. Let's. What other filter are we supposed to have for primary? Almost the mission is the mission, right? Keeping the main thing the main thing. We like to things, you know what I'm saying, and add a little flavor here and there, but again, I think it's to remain the main thing when we look at stuff like that. And so again, ultimately, productive to even have a debate. Hey, give me your top 10, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're competing again. And just like Swiss said, it's a preference necessarily mean better because every single person that you ask could have a different. That doesn't make that individual wrong. It doesn't make the next person wrong, and it doesn't make the artist on the person's list. But at the end of the day, again, we can't afford to and want to even have this conversation. Okay, so what are we saying? What are we saying?
Yeah, and to some of the audience too they don't even see the Jesus that's right in front of them. We were talking in our church group last night, or our church party, about Mark 8, where they're right in front of Jesus asking how he's going to feed the 4,000 after they've already seen him feed the 5,000, and like they're right in front of him, they can't see it. And I remember one of the first big threads I did when I came to Twitter was I saw somebody say Tripoli's The End didn't have enough talk about Jesus in it. And it was on a YouTube, like he clipped a YouTube comment from it. And I went after bro in the comment section, like track 1. And I said, this verse, this line is talking about this line is talking about, and like I just broke it all down for him. I'm like, that's just the first 4 songs. Like how, like, so we also have these audiences that aren't even theologically strong enough. They're still drinking milk, as Paul would say. And like they don't have that theological backing to even get the deep analogies that these guys are making. And so there's that's a combatant too, right? It's like we have these new zealous young Christians. They were talking about on Ruslan the other day, these 18-year-old TikTok Christian stars who they don't know their theology yet. They haven't like built a foundation yet. And so a lot of that is the audience that we're trying to get at. And so they don't even understand it yet.
Man,
Remember being in the forums back in the Gap and getting flooded by a bunch of like first-year Calvinists who were still in their cage stage? And I go to a Reformed church, so I can say that. I also theologically, because all conflict is theological. I don't remember who said that. It's a Catholic priest or something. When we look back at our example from the New Testament, we see the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost deferring to each other constantly. And then the only time that we see conflict among the apostles is when Paul is getting in Peter's face. And that's not like his holiest moment in scripture. So I don't remember seeing any competition among the apostles. I don't remember seeing anything that resembles competition from the leadership of the foundation of the church.
The people created the competition. Because if we go to 1 Corinthians, the people, right? One says, I'm of Paul. The other one says, I'm of Peter. But he isn't. He isn't. One preaches, the other one waters. And so the people, the dynamic, the audience, they create the conflict. Excellent points in terms of deference. It's only one
competition could probably
that's got like
it could probably be used the same way that sparring is used. And it's probably not super great to have that as a public thing. And that's why you spar in martial arts, is to get better at your craft. But in effect, when we put it to practice, when we put it out there in real life, it should look more like a Marvel versus Capcom situation where you got 3 dudes coming in helping each other. And like that was always my
you're my long lost brother, man.
I'm a comic book nerd, bro. But no, like remember back when Puffy would jump in and he would just say, I'll give you a perfect example. I do not remember the name of the song, but it's a Trip Lee song. You're going back to Trip Lee, and he was saying something, and at the end of his verse, for some reason, the Truth came in and said, "Yes, sir," and he wasn't even on that track. Yeah. I'm gonna find out what song that was, but like whenever I see them little moments like that where dudes jump in like a assist and just like Puffy or is on somebody's track,
in church clothes,
and you don't even expect it, and like that's what makes things better, man. The competition. We're still talking. We're still working this out, but we haven't talked about.
I do feel that I need to fix the biblical inaccuracy. The disciples definitely had conflict because they would argue over who was just to sit at the right hand of the throne of Jesus, and they were
chastised for that.
They were, but they were upset at each other for that. Like, why do you get to Like, what? Why do the Thunder Brothers get to answer this question?
Yeah.
So I think
I don't think that we are immune to competition or to want to compete with each other. But
it's the flesh.
When it's not prescribed. Like when we read about it, there's description of it, but it's not prescribed. At least not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I got to step away from the conversation for a minute.
I've just been then I can't end this conversation yet then because
I'm not done yet, but I just got to step away.
I've got the answer. I'm just waiting. I'm gonna wait for Zero though because he's got to be here for it. So no, I love it. Let's talk about a couple of the comments that came in while we've been talking. So we'll go back to Lost and Found. He said, when we say someone is better, we aren't saying one artist has more value than another. It's very true. Now, in the world, in the mainstream, maybe not, but in CHH, this is not what we should be saying. We should be saying just going back to those technical skills, right? And people grow, man. And there's always someone that's a little bit better, right? We've said that before, but he said there are objective and measurable skill factors that can undoubtedly say one artist is better than another. 100%. That's what we're saying. And that's why I think got lost. I think we get so wrapped up when these kind of, we'll call them conversations, debates. I don't know what we want. Twitter feuds. I don't know. But when they pop off, right, we get so wrapped up in we got to argue. I think, and
it's fun.
Instead of pausing for a minute and being like, hey, the honest reality of it's pretty simple. If we take a moment and just look at it, right? And I think that's kind of what happened here. Is like, because Mitch was coming in and he's like, "Yo, there's nothing wrong with me and my friends, having a friendly competition and saying, yo, I'm gonna eat you on this track. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna just shut it down." But
public at that point, though, that's a little different. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different.
Well, but I don't know that I've ever.
I think that goes back to the iron sharpening iron part of it as well.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I see like the listening session guys going back and forth, like I see it as like playful banter of them iron sharpening iron. Like, watching Mike Wise and Wiz the satellite kid go off this week. Yeah, I mean, I was dying at that conversation.
Dude, we just got to get that Texas up out of him and he'll be better.
Hey, this is the greatest country in the whole world.
Texas is the greatest country in the whole world.
He said that.
I'm not even going
Hashtag succeed.
Yeah. And the sooner the other states catch on, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Shout out to Marcos. He said, I invite conflict with his disagreements too. Yeah. Okay. I'm with that. It's fine if artists disagree. Yeah. And that's the thing. We are going to disagree at the same, on stuff. That's unavoidable, I think. Yeah, man. It's just James. Shout out to James, man. We stay arguing. I guess he does.
Yes, but it's funny to me. It's so funny to me.
So are we wanting like this competition conversation? Are they asking for battle tracks back and forth?
No, I don't know.
East Coast versus West Coast. Is this like Eric's rolling in the studio and rapping over your verse and you didn't know about it? Because nobody ever invades another album, like that. I don't
and taking the masters with them. That's
I think it was just a simple statement of when you look at technical skill, there is people that are better than others. CHH, and that's a fine statement to make. I'm gonna shut it down right now. Kanye is son in all of CHH, so he's the best CHH artist there is. And we'll leave it at that. Man,
that's why he got to wear that mask over his face. He
Zero. Give me a better response to that, Zero. Come on, I thought that was golden, man.
That's all I got, man. You caught me off guard.
I'm saying, all I'm going to say is 2 years ago, man, everyone was like, Kanye's the best Christian hip hop artist, period. Right? Because we were embracing it. And we were
because we were lemmings. Like, he was like, I'm a Christian. Everybody's like, somebody
Exactly.
famous acknowledged us.
We loved it. We got to pray for Kanye. That's what the hashtag pray for Kanye back then. Now it's like, nope, we got to cancel him. Now we got to cancel him. And where's that same energy, man?
Yeah.
Where's the same energy?
Like I
Kanye's
said,
has some stuff.
Kanye needs to put out complete tracks and not just a bunch of stems, and then I'll get behind him more.
Yeah.
Dude.
He be putting out stuff with no drums. I'm like,
Yes, thank you, Zero. I'm always like, all right, the beat's up right here.
Like, when do I get to enjoy this song?
He want to be on some real art, like literal art for real with me. Track, I don't care. I'm gonna put it out. Y'all gonna hate it, but then y'all gonna talk about it. Then y'all.
I appreciate that about Ye though, because like so many artists are trying to meet a standard, and like at the end of the day, it's like nobody cares. Like it doesn't matter. You put stuff out for your tribe, and that's all that's gonna feed you. I don't know.
But that's true though, bro. Because we'll talk about there's no rules to that. We go out and make a song that hey, you gotta have 3/16 do it one time, and then we're gonna end the song. And so we go out and we follow rules to music. No, you got to choose. And you have to be confident out. And
I'll rap until I forget what I was
reckless,
rapping
man.
What about, he said the rappers will always debate, but if your music is ministry and ministry is a tool of God, how can you compare tools? Which is better, a hammer or a wrench?
Great. That's a great
Depends
comment.
on if you got a nail or a screw. Like,
sometimes I don't feel that the music is ministry.
If I got a screw, I don't need a hammer. If I got a nail, I don't need a wrench.
I think that's where
valid.
I think
that's a valid response.
Hey, but I think that this is where, as artists, you got to be clear from the jump and stay consistent with that message on what your music is about. Right?
Yeah. I don't feel like the music is ministry most of the time. Well, a lot of the times. It's like, how is it benefit me if you got sauce? That's not ministry.
Too often, right? So more often, there's the HH again.
Yeah, I think there are people who are out here trying to do this for ministry purposes, and that is fine, But just be upfront about that, right? Yeah. And then if people, talk sideways a little bit, just ignore it and keep going, man. Don't get sucked into it.
I don't like to assume that everything is ministry, because even like people who make ministry the forefront, they got to have some silly songs. KJ's got to have a cheeseburger and fries. But at the same time, when I was homeless living in the back of my car, I'm sitting there listening to KJ crying my eyes out about how it's going to be okay one day. Like you got to have some variety. The people that assume everything is ministry is like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you're distributing the product, right? Like if you're distributing your musical product so that you could get on the Billboard charts, and that's your main, goal, then is that a ministry? But if your main goal is to, reach as many children or, whatever message that you have to give, like our church has 30 different ministries for specific things, like rebuilding your marriage, newly married people, people who are, looking to get married. And then we have grief share, someone's died. We have abortion care, there's all these different things. And it's like, you only have a specialty in one part of your knowledge. Like No Big Deal, for example, who is if we're going to go top fives, he's in mine. He's like number one, maybe number two. He clearly knows his Old Testament because he'd be dropping Old Testament bars all day long, Yeah. And so I think you have these people that have these different kind of skills and kind of specialties, if you will, on what they're gonna hit at.
Dude, that comes with the artist knowing their audience. So.
Swiss, I'm like looking at your beard, man, and just wishing I had shaved before we got on here because mine's like all like scraggly.
I'm wishing I had shaved too. I look homeless again.
Oh man, that glorious facial hair that he's got going, and I feel like a little bit lesser of a person right now.
I'm getting it shaped out tomorrow. It's a little bushy right now. But
okay, so you're not reformed then.
No.
If you think your beard is too bushy, I know you what team you on.
Dude.
Oh man, my hair's too long. I've been wearing a hat all week. I need a haircut.
Maybe just trim it up a little bit, man. But let that thing grow, man. Let the glory go. Yeah.
I'm just gonna shape it. But my wife's like, "Hey, you might want to tame that up a little bit."
Man, dude.
Well, you got to make the wife happy.
Yeah,
that's your biggest fan.
Yep.
Oh man, so yeah, dude. So we've been talking about kind of some stuff that's been happening. What are you guys excited for? And I want to start with you, Swiss man. What are you excited for? Whenever we're talking about getting ready for 2023.
A few things. So I'm actually not allowed to like talk about this totally, but we're having a big artist come to one of our students' ministries this year in February, and it's on the low. But he's a pretty big artist, and he just dropped a single a couple weeks ago, and the music video is amazing. But I'm excited for that.
The Kanye.
It is Kanye.
Kanye's
coming to Watermark. We're about to get canceled.
Bag over his face and everything.
Yeah. And then excited to go to the Smoke Fest again. This time it's in Nashville. Never been to Nashville, so excited for that. And then excited for some new indie tribes coming next year. Dilly's supposed to be dropping a single a month for the next 10 months.
Oh, wow.
And I got to hear some of it at his pop-up, and man, there's some stuff on there that my head almost exploded to. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then I'm really looking forward to a couple like new artists continue to grow. So 350 has been one that I've watched just blow up everything. I really hope Bats comes out with the first album finally. Looking to him for some good stuff. Aaron Dew's new project would be fun. So just kind of seeing some of these like younger kids that are just getting their feet wet and doing a really good job come in. So
peep Eternity comment.
Eternity. Okay, yeah, you gotta read that. You gotta read Eternity's comment.
That piece of definitely ministry, yo.
That's a hard question to answer. I went to youth group for the girls. I went to youth group for the pizza.
That's hilarious, yo.
Yo, we should have a T-shirt that says like "came for the pizza." Well, no, hold on, it's backwards. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say, man, I went to church and was like hiding out in the back drinking all like the communion grape juice. You know, that's what I was there for. Now Katie's gonna shame me.
I don't know what to say about that.
Not at all, bro. Stay for the juice, man. That's all right. It happens. It happens.
But I mean, hey, okay, dude. I guess let's open the can of worms. I don't guess none of us have anywhere to go. I'm assuming we don't. So let's do this because this kind of opens that.
He says this.
Well, this kind of opens that up, man. Like, okay, so pizza was a tactic to get people in the door, right? What do y'all think about that? I can't remember his name. Someone probably knows it. You can help us out.
Oh, he already went too far.
Dude, the dude that said, "Hey,
good night, everybody.
Let's grow weed. Let's grow weed, and we can get people in the."
Oh, I did see that. I saw that. I saw that. I'm like,
that is what the church needs to get that in. To get that membership up, man. We need
ministry.
Yeah.
Pass the offering plate around, put your dollar in, take your joint out, and we'll all get feeling a little better. You know.
That's the kind of thing you do when you don't fear God. You definitely don't fear the church, and the church has lost a lot of respect.
Bro, come on, man. And the people that you kowtow to, you think your services because, hey, guess what, guys? In the back, you ain't got to stop. Just come through. I got you. Nah, and that's not the secret. But dude. I mean, and what you don't realize is you actually to the people that you're supposed to go out and minister to, because you think,
hey, can you imagine what Elijah would do?
And if I give you this, and you're gonna come.
If he came back
from
heaven,
fire would have been called down, man.
We'd be gone.
Up in smoke, pun intended.
I mean, maybe I'm misquoting him, but in the words of the great philosopher Smokey, didn't he say that God put this here for me and you to enjoy?
Hey, that
I
was
don't know. Maybe this pastor's figured something out, dude. I don't know. Maybe he's ahead of the curve.
Maybe he just needs to like
You know
pump
what?
it through the air vents and just see like get a test audience.
we all
This is
getting
where
out
we're
today.
at, man. This is where and so, dude, KD, I know you got words, man, on this. Like, why is this where we're at?
The pastor here does J's for Jesus.
It's because. Hold on, wait.
Hey.
I'm a sneakerhead. Hold on. I'm
Shoes, dog.
a sneakerhead.
Okay,
Hold on.
yeah, a pair of
Is
J's.
it-
Zero
when it
was
comes to that,
campaigning for
Oh, he's
2023
talking
to
joints,
be
not
the year of the
Jordans.
J.
Okay,
Type of
no,
J.
Zero
I
was
thought,
campaigning.
yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Yeah,
Oh, it's
2023 is the year of the J.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
not what you were thinking.
Just James is dropping the 20. Yeah, bro. But I mean, again, and Zero said don't talk about it enough. The fear of God and it being to the degree that we need to have it. It talk like you and I sound like you, but then I tell you need to live like me. What's the difference? Effectively communicate or show value. If doesn't all the time, right? If I haven't bought it, how can I sell it? At times it's unfortunate, man. We think we still need gimmicks, and it's extremely simple. And I'll sum it up in two things. One, if I draw manage me. Two, when Paul talked about becoming all things to all people, not actually doing what they've done, but acknowledging I used to do what you've done, and so I'm going to connect with you, and I'm not going to just simply sympathize. I'm not going to feel for you. I'm going to feel with you, and we're going to talk, and we're going to have a discussion on you with my words and with my walk. What Jesus can do for you. I ain't got to blow up the whole little thing that wave the arms outside. Say, hey, come to the church. And I know, and don't get me wrong, I know aesthetic. But we talk about the lights and the can lights and the smoke, the aesthetics of service. That's great. That's fantastic. But if the word is absent, if genuine love for people isn't there, what's the point? What's the point? So you can put on a good show. It's great for clicks, and it's great to get people talking. But at the end of the day, what difference are you making? He doesn't respect the church. We pull up, we park our nice whips, we have service homes, and we do nothing for the communities that we live in. So again, at the end of the day, but nobody's being changed, and nobody's being cared for, and nobody's. So yeah, we're in a bad space if we think that that's what it.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like at some point, you have to. Like it grieves my spirit to think that Jesus is not enough for some Christians. And I hate that sounds like a platitude. I totally don't mean it that way. Like I should be able to go to church and learn about Jesus. Like that's the point. Just go learn about Jesus without all the extras. If all we did was just go and there was no music and there was none of the other stuff that churches like to do, and it was just like we're gonna talk about Jesus for an hour, I would be cool with that. Like that should be enough, because like actually learning about Jesus is way better than any other like program or whatever you put together. And then it grieves my spirit that there are a lot of Christians who they need to have "Thou shalt not smoke weed" written out in black and text on white paper for them to understand it, when it is such an easy thing to prove from the New Testament. It's not even hard to prove it. Just looking at the behavior of people, looking at what it does to the culture, looking at how we're not supposed to give the appearance of evil, looking at so many things. Oh, well, Jesus was eating with, yeah, but he wasn't smoking weed with them. He wasn't doing what they were doing.
Always be sober-minded.
Yeah, Every time you read about Jesus, he's calling people out of sin and telling them to stop sinning. And y'all, some of y'all sound like the snake up on the tree. Was that really sin? You know, God made it. It's just it's so ridiculous. And it's like you don't respect Christ. That's the thing that just is so upsetting about it. Is like, yeah, you can pontificate about little things back and forth, but do you fear God? Do you respect Christ? Like if you fear God, there's lines you won't even cross. You know, because you fear God. I don't know how else to put it. I think go ahead, Eric.
Oh, it wasn't me. I think that was Swiss.
I was saying, I just said, yeah, like just agree. Okay. I mean, I think what DJ Expander says here too is the accountability piece, right? And having fellowship and having men, or for me, having men to speak into my life and women to speak in my wife's life. And, you know, we've been in a same community group for 7 years with the same couples. These people know everything about us. And, you know, having that ability for someone to say, hey, I don't think you're following Jesus right now. Like I've given them permission to tell me that. I've given them permission to say things like that to me if I'm out of step. I mean, when my wife and I conflict and we maybe need to take a break, the first thing I do is call my guys. Hey guys, can someone hop on the phone call, help me see my blind spot, you know? And I'm sitting there thinking I'm 100% right on this issue, and this guy goes, hey, maybe she feels this way. And I'm like, oh yeah, duh. And it's like, this is going back to the spiritual milk thing for Zero here, of just people being like, it's not hard if you take the time. It's like, I got so many Christian friends who can tell me everything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything in Star Wars lore, but they don't know basic biblical scriptures and how everything is interconnected and interwoven. And so you know, we just have a society that isn't hungry for the word.
And I don't want this to come out as like a shaming, like finger waggy kind of moment. It should be like an eye-opening moment for those of us who's even been in the faith for a very long time. You know, like, is Jesus enough? And you don't have to like slather on a whole bunch of suffering on top of that. I mean, we're gonna suffer, but like at a base level, is Jesus enough? And then go from there. Like, think about, like, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about the fact that God's provision in my life is supernatural, and it's become apparent at this point. It's just like, I just don't make enough. I don't do enough. And God keeps supernaturally providing for us. And I'm just like, I don't even get it. Like, why do you know what I mean? Like, when maybe he's feeding me for the sake of my children, you know, something about having kids, you see the world differently. And you're just like, I understand, like, the bookkeeper was talking about his mama dragged him to church. He didn't have a choice. And I'm like, that's something I would do. Like, my kids don't go to kids' church. No. You sit right here and you listen to the preacher, and we're going to talk about it after church. You know, like, because they're souls. These are people. They're not just little kids that want to go play and color. And like, these are souls that I'm responsible for. And I fear God. And like, every element of your life isn't wrapped up in that in some point. I get it. We're going to fall. We're going to get silly. We're going to forget stuff. We're human. I do dumb stuff all the time. I'm not trying to put that out like I don't. But like, you should have a fallback plan or something, like accountability partners, like Swiss was talking about. There's dudes in my church that are as messed up as I am and scarier, and they hold me accountable. Like, I mean, I respect them for that. We are there for each other because we know how bad life can get. Like, we know how bad it can get, and I don't want to go back to that. Yeah. So like, the weed church thing is just disrespectful, bro.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I think another thing to keep in mind too, though, is, you know, kind of your point of people who've been following Jesus for a while. Sanctification is a process. You know, it's not a event, and a lot of us like to use the analogy that we're running on the same track. Like, hey, at least we're running the same race. But the race is a straight line. It's not a track. Are we going to pass these brothers and just be like later? Or are we going to stop and encourage them and bring them along that path? Or are we just going to keep lapping them and forgetting where
Right.
they are in their walk.
Yeah. Isn't it Paul that talks about
That's a
pulling
problem.
brothers out of the fire?
That's a problem. Yep. And so we talk about the lack of, but then we have so many people who are adverse to actually congregating. All of the benefits that you're missing out, and one of the main reasons that you're struggling walk is the fact that you don't have this community. You don't have the accountability of you and who are like-minded, who want to see you win. That's a huge part of church. Who are at places and in places in Christ Jesus that you're not there yet, and they can help you grow from where you are to where it is that God is trying to take you. That's church. I don't want rules. The whole world has rules. Why should God be any different? It gives you freedom. Rebellion isn't freedom. You're still being dominated. You're still being told what to do by the enemy. Let's just be realistic and call it what it is. Okay. And so am I now able to have a relationship with God? Because the things that God is pleased with, that allows me to have intimacy with a different ball game. But if all I hear is the negative things, if let's go to church and smoke weed, or let's teach people how to sell weed as a business. If it's with those types of things, then yeah, I'm not gonna have a desire, and God is not giving anybody a pass. Okay, not the individual people who come in contact with it, because at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our individual.
Yeah, man, and you hit on it there. That was my good be my next point was like, not only did this guy say, hey, you know what, I know how we're gonna get guys in here. We're gonna use weed to get them into the church, right? Then he like doubled down on it and was like, hey, what we're doing here is we're teaching these guys how to be entrepreneurs, and you're telling me that the only way you can learn to be an entrepreneur is by turning them into drug dealers? Like that's the only option there was? Like, I don't know, man. The people who buy into this should, I mean, like these people should feel insulted, man.
The dudes in my church don't even want smoke machines during worship.
and then we wonder why the church is struggling in this country, man. Because this is what we're giving unbelievers to look at. Because this is the stuff that gets the headlines. It's not the good stuff that gets the headlines.
No.
It's the look. They're just like us.
Yeah. And
for the fire to mock and make fun of, what people don't want to be a part of.
Yeah,
I would say leave room for God's judgment and speak out on this, obviously. But for those of us who are against this, continue to let people know what you're actually about and not just what you're against. Because in times of trouble, people know who's solid. People recognize real. And people might not like you because you're not fun or whatever. But like, if I really like run into the right person, I know like, oh, I'm gonna send him a Paul Washer sermon. That's just how it is sometimes. Like we all want to be the fun guy, and I think there's maybe a level of immaturity there. Fun is fun, but fun's not going to save your soul. You want to be reliable. You want to be respected. You want to be revered, and you want to point people to Christ. And you can't do that if you're silly,
Mm-hmm.
So just stay on that path and let God be the one to give you what you're looking for, whether it's kudos or wisdom or whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's why I keep challenging us as the Christian hip hop space. That's why I keep challenging us, because we may not be able to go and change this weed pastor's mind about stuff, right? But we can start holding ourselves to that higher standard, so that maybe we can make a little bit of a difference coming up.
And
right?
That's what I mean. I speak to us too, because I was on Twitter this morning looking through stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm meant to be a Christian hip hop fan sometimes when I see all the nonsense. But it's like, they're going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop. All I can do is share the truth and the wisdom that God has given me to share, and try not to be ratchet. and like try not to get in God's way, and let people know what we're about. Not not constantly what I'm against, but also letting people know what we're about, and let God do the rest. People that are looking for that, they'll find that. That's how I get connected with a Big Swiss. But I don't get connected just railing against all stuff all the time. You at least gotta have a mix. I'm not saying don't speak against people, but you at least gotta have a mix. Let people know who you actually are.
So, what do you guys see as, I kind of said, let's look ahead to 2023. What are we excited about? Like, if you were going to set one goal for the Christian hip hop world in 2023, what's that one goal that you're trying to get us to reach as a whole, as a body, not as individuals?
I think just I'm trying to think of the right word, but just a separation, I guess, of the hip hop culture, like secular hip hop culture, and really discovering what does a Christian hip hop artist look like. I think there are a ton of them that do know what that look like, and I think there are a ton of them that do not.
Mhm.
And I think if we are going into 2023, and there seems to be, at least for me, and correct me if you guys have noticed this too or haven't, but it seems to me just a flood of artists have been hitting the last 2 years. And so it seems like there is a competition of, is this person really a Christian? And there's some Christians that are saying, hey y'all, there's dudes in here that aren't even Christian, they're doing CHH as a way to get into the industry. And it's like, okay, but so what? Like that collaboration you have might be the best thing that they hear about the gospel, that actually deters them back onto the track, right? You look at like the Daytons of the
Mhm.
world, who that was his story. Like you have to have a separation of that. I think if we're going into 2023 and looking at how we can unify as just content creators and artists and fans, and like, back to our first conversation on Twitter and retweeting and sharing each other's posts and information to get out. You know what, if my feed is nothing but like a full week of, DJ Lost and Thousands album came out, I don't care. Like, I'll take that any day over politics, and I'm addicted to politics. And so I will, but I would much rather be distracted by CHH all day.
Yeah, man. So the bookkeeper says
Yep.
goal for him would be more unity in CHH. If more people work together, the genre would benefit from us, platforms, artists, creators, and etc.
Yep.
Yes, 100%, man. 100%. I think that's, and dude, I think there's a lot of people that want to see that, and I
Hey,
think
Byron's in the chat, my guy.
Yeah, man. What up, B plus? But
Welcome back, Kitty.
and I think that we are seeing some of those steps being taken as well as we're wrapping up 2022. So I'm encouraged, man. I'm encouraged to see what's going to happen. We're seeing different stuff with artists. We're seeing different stuff, or at least I'm seeing it. And man, I've had some conversations over the past week or two with some of some of our peers, in the media as well, man. And I think there's a lot of like-mindedness that's starting to take shape. So we'll see. God's setting up something for 2023, man.
That and a lot of like small crews are starting to formulate, right? Like you got Next Mike and the Trap Ship Collective. Those guys are like, what they did this year has been amazing. God Over Money has been really aggressive this year, and I think they've been I think they've been kind of the number 2 infrastructure, maybe next to Reach. And then you got these Philly guys like Q Flow, Prodi, Abel, Ishan. Those like they're starting to build up these little camps, and like I think if we can get them all together, which they seem to be unified. From what mostly I have seen on Twitter and Instagram, but if we can continue to like push all that into one spot and then let it blow up, let it be more festivals like what Indie Tribe's doing, more concert, like kind of crew concerts like what the Reach Unashamed tour usually does. Do that for God Over Money, do that for Trap Ship, do that, like start doing that. But it's not going to happen if we don't get people involved and worth and showing up. Like Churches aren't going to want that. Most of these artists don't want to do the church scene. They want to get out of the church scene and have a longer reach, a bigger reach. So if that happens in 2023, that's going to be a huge win.
My goal is to see I want to connect with as many OGs as possible that have been in the game for a long time. Anybody that will sit down and speak with us about the wisdom that they've learned over 10 years or more. And I put a tweet about that out a while ago, started making a list, and I want to start reaching out to a lot of these guys that have been in the game for more than 10 years, learning the wisdom that God has taught them, and then trying to repackage and distill that in a way that the younger generations can benefit from. So that's a production I'm still working on how we can do that. But that's a big goal for me personally. And then what I want to see is, well, I guess this is another personal goal. What does a man, a 30 plus, 35 plus, 40 plus year old man look like in CHH? Because there's a part of me that feels embarrassed when you're walking around looking like a freaking teenager all the time, wearing, snapbacks and sports gear and stuff. And it's like, it has its place, but like other men our age in other areas of life don't dress like teenagers unless there's something wrong with them. So like, what does the man look like in this space? Like LL Cool J, The Truth, Denzel's not a rapper, but like I'm looking at men who are aging well and saying like, how can I be like that and still be holy and still connect to my people being the hip hop CHH group. So those are my main goals this year.
That was well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about just pouring into people, man. That's what I want to see is us being able to offer, like we said, if you didn't listen to the podcast or watch the podcast last weekend, go and do so, man. We talked about some of these services that we're going to be rolling out, man. And I would really, really love for you guys to go to the website, go to the menu, and you see services in there. If you hover over it, it gives you a drop down where there's a pre-registration form. And it's some of these services that we're going to be rolling out. Hopefully, getting some out right at the beginning of the year, man. We're talking about being able to offer websites for artists. And if you can't do the website right away, electronic press kits, web hosting, and where that's open not only to artists for their sites, but man, if like we were talking about, if you got a podcast, man, you want it to be hosted on a server that is not going to, one day maybe shut you down because we don't agree with you whenever it comes to the gospel. This is the kind of stuff, man, that we're trying to do. And I can't remember if it was after we started, or I feel like maybe it was before we started the live, where I was saying like, we're really excited. We feel like this is the stuff that we're supposed to be doing, but it's not going to matter if no one comes along with us on this and take advantage of it. But if you're an artist and you're like, man, I need to feel like people are invested in what I'm doing, that's what we're trying to do with this stuff. That's what we do. Yeah. That's what we do with the website every day, man. Like that's why we make it super easy to see our submission form on there, right? So make sure you get us your music in 2023 because we want to support you, but we need it. Okay. Oh, St. John, what's up?
Hey, man, yo, what up,
here,
bro?
Man. Hey,
man.
And I think we got a conversation coming with Saint, man. Me and him got to get a little bit more details, but I think January 2nd, his new project comes out. I think we're gonna be live with him on release day to talk about it too.
Oh, I love when we do that.
Maybe he could talk. Maybe he can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think that's the plan. So y'all need to stay tuned for that. Maybe I don't know. Join our newsletter to be updated on that. For those who weren't here earlier. Yes, sir. He says, there we go. Boom. There's your proof. So we're gonna see St. John's on 520 coming January 2nd. Let's see. Oh, what did D-Plus say here? He said to
steal he had a good one.
Well, covering Christian hip hop should be fun. Yeah, man. That's my goal to end this year and next year. And dude, B plus, you've been doing like the growth this year has been nuts from you, man. I mean, just absolutely crazy. So I'm super proud of you, my guy. Encouraging the artists and informing the fans, yes, sir. And man, we need to get connected with some of those fans. That's why I think we have started doing some stuff this year that we weren't doing in previous years. And some of it maybe doesn't seem as connected to the music, but I think it's because there are people that are like-minded, that are thinking the way that we are, that we can connect with, and then the natural result of that connection is, hey, while you're here, man, you can also check out some great artists.
Isn't that what happens when you get to our age, though? Like, you don't walk up to another 40-year-old man and be like, "What kind of music do you listen to?" Like, that's more something you do in your 20s, Like,
That's
you
true.
talk about these wider, deeper range of things.
I do it all the time, man.
I do.
I walk
I
up to
get
guys.
there,
I
but
say,
it's
"Give me
kinda
your
like standard."
Can I see your phone for a second?" And then I turn on like Jay Monty for him. So,
Oh, you know what's dope? If you use the Brave browser, you can give a QR code for anything you pull up on the web. So you find a website, you hit the share button, you can do a QR code. And like I just walk up to people and be like, "Yo, check this out." Boom, QR code. And they already instinctively know what to do, how to get there. And it's just you can send people links in real time.
Oh, that's cool.
Amazing.
That is dope.
I'm using the Brave.
KD's mic's legit now. We're getting real time KD.
Oh,
Right?
we finna spice up KD's setup. He's already got the tools. Yeah, that stuff it needs a little bit of tweaking when you get it out of the box, but once you get it there, like I still got to do some work on this mic because I'm not happy with how this sounds.
KD, what do you what if you could set a goal for the CHH space for 2023? What is it?
Ooh, man. The goal for the space, get back to prioritizing God's will. And I know that's like, my goodness, this sounds so judgmental. But when we look at a lot of the fruit that we see coming out, and we look at a lot of the little pockets of, beef and the different things that go on across social media, etc., and how we handle those things, even when or the way that we handle, certain misgivings, etc. Maybe not the best way to do it, especially in public platforms where individuals again have the opportunity to kind of dissect and throw stones at what we do. So, getting back to the basics and making sure that as a whole, our goal is to push Christ and to push each other as we push Christ and making that a priority. So unity isn't something that you just fall into. Unity is something that is intentional. You have to choose to want to be a part of what is going on. And so again, at the end of the day, if we have more individuals choosing to be a part of the solution rather than now, by default, you can sin, carnality, you could be a part of the problem by default. Simply don't do anything, right? Sit back. If you see something, you don't say something, stuff like that. So we want to be intentional. I want to see the space be intentional about glorifying God, making it simple, but also getting into some of the deeper things so that people get a well-rounded experience from what is possible in the walk with Christ. And that don't mean that you got to stop making dope music. It just means that you understand that, hey, this dope music is a result of my dope relationship with an extremely awesome God. And so just making sure that we kind of broadcast that a little bit better in the years to come, because at the end of the day, the world needs that message, and that message cannot be watered down.
Yeah, man. So let's do this, man, because I know we've been on here for a minute, and I'm sure some people are ready to get to other things.
Hey, we going on 2 hours? Holy moly!
That was a good convo.
Good googly moogly, Eric.
We've been talking, man. But hey, let's do this though. Let's kick 2023 off right. And what I would love for everyone to do is make sure you tune in on January 1st, 8 p.m. Central for the 2022 Wavemaker Awards. Going to be on the Trackstars YouTube channel. So, man, 10 awards this year, guys. 10 awards. and DJ Jeremiah's Next Up list is going to be announced as well. So check that out. Start the year off with us. And man, as soon as the awards over, you know what happens? We start tracking for next year's awards. So
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, we already heard it, man. We got some early contenders. Probably we got St. Jones dropping the project. We got Just James. You mentioned Alcott. I know, man. YP and the commissioner announced guillotines in the East too.
YP have been on some work this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the bar is going to get set high right out the gate. So I'm excited.
Agreed.
Well, okay, I'm excited, and I'm also like already frustrated thinking about next year's awards because like this year's was hard enough on me. But man, dude. So yeah, so tune in with that. Again, we love and appreciate y'all. Like all this stuff that's happened for 520 this year, it wouldn't have happened without the support of everyone that's in here, both on the video and in the chat, hanging out with us. So a lot of cool stuff, man, but we need your help to do it. Like I said, the new service is coming. We need you to go, and if you're not already signed up for the newsletter, go to the Substack and drop your email in there so you can get that information. We're going to do some cool stuff with that. I think, it's coming together, on the fly here over the last few days, but just seeing the potential there, I'm excited about that as well. And yeah, man, 520collective.com. If you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join us on Telegram. Oh, Big Swiss says, oh, yeah. Yes, there is, man. There is a 520 Collective Discord.
I need to get in there.
There is a 520
I don't
Discord.
be on the Discord like ever anymore. I feel
well, it's because you hate people, Zero. So
Come on.
I don't hate people, but
it's okay if you do, man.
Tell them to come home, bro.
Right.
I just think that Telegram's better, but
yeah. Well, dude, and that's what we're trying to find out. But hey, there is a 520 Discord, and you can get to all this stuff, the Telegram, the Discord, all the different socials right on 520collective.com. So do that for us, man. And I already told Swiss, man, we're going to be inviting him often when we're doing some lives in 2023.
Dope,
yeah,
doors
open.
Dope
doors
having
open
you, bro.
anytime, bro.
Yeah, man, this has been fun. This is literally exactly the type of conversation I like to have.
Boom.
Awesome.
Well, let's have them, man, because we got cool stuff. Like I'm gonna tell. Okay, so we haven't really announced this. Let's drop some special announcements here, exclusive right now before we sign off. A couple of things. One, our goal as a platform for 2023 is that we're going live once a week on YouTube and in Telegram. So we may not get to every single one, but that is our goal. So hopefully we'll be there and you'll be with us. We also got a format change coming to the podcast where, we get, one or two topics per show. And that's what we're kind of, basically building the podcast around. What does that mean for our industry insider interviews? That means that we are actually going to be doing those live and stream those onto YouTube in 2023. Now we got a couple more that's coming out before we make that switch, so be looking forward to that. But yeah, live interviews, live industry insider interviews, sponsored by the Bookkeeper 24/7. I know he's in the chat. What's up, Daryl? Coming to YouTube in 2023. But does that mean that you only hear us on the podcast? No. What that means is, just because we don't have an industry insider interview segment on the podcast anymore, we are going to still open the doors for guest hosts. So if you would like to join us on the podcast and talk about some of those discussions, still hit us up. We'll get you on, man. It's going to be KD and Zero and myself hanging out, but we want you to be a part of it as well. So a lot more interaction, man. Some of these choices that we've made. Oh yeah, what's up?
Lost and found, man. Just dropped a little bomb there in the chat, bro.
Oh, hold on. Let's see what we got here now. Exclusive new single titled "Sunshine" in March. Oh, look, Lost and Found knew my birthday was in March.
Exclusive.
I don't have that as a sample. I need that.
Yeah.
And
Wait, can you say that again? I'm gonna record it.
Exclusive.
I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I hope so.
Dude, hey, Lost and Found, man. I'm not envious of where he's at, because after his 2022, man, he's made it difficult on himself to.
That's a good point.
To step that up. So, but yeah, man. So again, if you guys want to be on the podcast this year, let us know, man, because we're going to be opening it up to some guest hosts as well. Just a lot of stuff, man. And the thing behind it, we're all, family men, wife, kids, jobs, all that stuff. So we're trying to say, how can we, maybe simplify the process a little bit more while still putting out great content, quality content for everyone. And we think that this is going to help accomplish that. And then connecting with guys like Big Swiss, man, and B Plus and some of the different, That's Not Christian, the different media people that we've been able to connect with throughout this year.
Shout out to B Play. He lives right down the street from me, man.
Oh,
Him and I are like
Man.
10 minutes away from each other.
Tell him next time he needs to be sitting next to you when you're on here.
We need to. We've only hung out a couple times, but we're definitely looking forward to doing
Swiss, do you play Fortnite?
I do not, but I would. I'm kind of more of a Warzone guy right now, but
yeah.
So
I'm
Swiss,
on Switch, so I don't have that.
Swiss, before we sign off, man, anything you need to plug?
Yeah, so I got a series of top 5 videos I'll be dropping at year-end kind of stuff. I came up with 15 different categories that I'll be kind of going into just so I can spread a little bit of love across multiple artists at different phases of their career, highlight some graphic designers too, some directors of music videos that I think have done some excellent work this year. So just kind of being able to do a year-end looking at a holistic view of CHH and not just the bar for bar kind of stuff. So I'll be dropping those 26, 27, 28, 29. My birthday is December 29th. That's probably when I'll drop the album of the year kind of stuff. So
Nice. KD, any last words?
Man, we appreciate y'all hanging out, man. Continue to keep the main thing, man. Enjoy and embrace your family, man. I hate to kind of end it on somewhat of a somber note for me, but just a lot going on at this time of year. A lot of people losing loved ones, man. Hey, check in on your people. Make sure that everybody is good. Don't assume, man. Your text, your tweet, your reach out, your call, man, your hug, like all of that stuff matters. So, man, put your whole heart in it. And, man, gear up for the ride, y'all. God is not done. Still working miracles, man. And you too can walk on water. Put your faith and trust in them, man. And we're going to keep things moving.
Amen.
Zero.
Oh wait, you know what?
Zero, you got anything?
Nah, I'm good. I've said enough tonight.
All right, man.
Love you guys.
Shout out to the bookkeeper going full LLC in 2023. That's what's up, man. We're excited for what's going on. The bookkeeper, excited for your support as always. Yeah, man. You know how it is, guys. Let's go.